Good morning, people. I hope you are staying safe and remembering this too shall pass. We will get through this. In the meantime, how about we catch up on some much needed reading? I'm reading these books. All great and intriguing stories and worlds to explore. I'm also reading some Kindle books on my tablet. Yes, I'm a weirdo. I do both. I publish in both and read in both. Speaking of publishing, this is book 2 in my longevity series, Independence. I've showed it to you before. It was published a couple months ago, but the cover was too dark, as you can see. So I've finally got the revised cover uploaded and it's already out there. The link is below with my Patreon link, my website, and the GoFundMe campaign page. So that will be 4 links. If you've been following me on social media, you would have heard this past Monday, we've reached 10% now. I'm so thankful and excited about that. Now, 9 more milestones to go to the finish line. So we're most likely going to be extending the campaign. We can beat Corona. I truly believe that's what we're battling for, our fundraiser right now, honestly, because so many families have lost their income streams thanks to the insanity this plague has caused. But we'll be out of the woods before you know it. So, back to Independence. I want to read a snippet for you. And this is taken from chapter 6, I believe. Yeah. Morning! William's voice broke into his thoughts. We're breaking camp, and the plan is to use this fog to our advantage. The men I sent ahead to set the traps should be meeting us as soon as we reach Abbey Craig. Ian jumped up and rolled his bed into 2 quick strides, scurrying over to Brianna, who was tied with the rest of the mounts, next to a huddled gathering of pines. He tossed the bedroll over her back and strapped it down. The camp was cleared out in less than 15 minutes. The sun still hid while the troops plodded across the rolling hills. Ian kept to himself, listening to each clomp of the horses' hooves, the pounding of iron-clad boots worn by a few of the recruits, and the stillness of the hills and trees around them. Something about that stillness was unsettling. Sitting as straight as he could in his saddle, Ian honed in his senses. His eyes couldn't see much through the morning fog. Focusing on his ears and sense of smell, he could ascertain a herd of roe deer out for their breakfast within his 10-mile radius. About 2 miles to the left, a black bear rummaged through a rotting tree for grubs. 7 miles to the right, a human lad, about 12 years from the smell of him, was fishing in a stream, leading around the mountain and emptying into the river Forth. The band of patriots entered a clump of pines mixed with ash and birch trees. The smell of that mix filled Ian's nostrils, masking the scent of the unwashed travelers around him. Though he was thankful for the wondrous smell of pine, this set him more on edge. The fog was still draped around the foliage in this area. They were at the foot of the mountain now, rounding its base. Ian could hear the babble of the river about 2 miles ahead of them. "Remember, men," William called out in a throaty tone, "there may be English holds around here, so keep silent. Ferric, could you have them pass it along?" "As you wish, cousin." The red-haired man trotted around, making his way to the back of the lines. "My gut tells me they already know we're here." William turned to Ian, who only agreed with a nod. "The rest of our men should be just up ahead." Ferric's horse patted the wet earth as he returned in a soft prance. "They've all been informed." William froze. Ian sensed the man's hairs standing up. Glancing over his shoulder at William, he yanked Brianna's reins. "What is it, Will?" Ferric questioned. He pulled his mount in too. Bringing a gloved finger to his mouth, William pointed straight ahead. It was at that moment that Ian's nostrils flared. Why hadn't he caught the scent sooner? He'd been too occupied with the smell of a group of humans about a mile away, closer to the river. This other group was approaching from the east, and they were far less than a mile away. Ferric mouthed the question on all their minds. Was it the reinforcements? Ian heard a rumble. He realized he was growling. Ferric glanced at him, meeting his gaze, knitting both eyebrows. He opened his mouth to ask something, but started gaping like a fish. Ian's hackles rose. Blood splashed out of Ferrick's mouth, darkening his beard. A long black shaft appeared out of nowhere, protruding out of the man's neck. "Ferrick!" William roared. And I'll leave it to you to decide whether you want to continue. So, that's all for today's reading. You can help us advance this author's dream of taking his books to the public on this book tour in August. We have reached 10%, as I said before. If you also would like to support me on Patreon, that'd also be a blessing too. So, stay safe. Keep your chin up. And have a great life.